on. I just knocked over my camera. I'm picking it on. Sorry about that.
Hi my lovelies, and welcome back to my channel. So the 2000s was definitely the prime time for dolls, and that could definitely be my nostalgia blinding me partly, but either way we can all at least admit and recognize that it was an experimental time at that. So understandably, many think back to this time when reminiscing about their childhood and such, and Bratz come to mind. I mean, it makes so much sense if you really think about it. Bratz were very unique for their time and paved the way, honestly, for future doll lines to emerge that kind of strayed away from the norm, whether that be in their creative designs or fashion element. But let's be real, before Bratz, most dolls resemble Barbie. And I don't mean like directly we're copycat Barbies, like I just bring up Barbie more so to make the point that like more realistic dolls were all the rage for a really long time. That's how dolls started. My initial thoughts when I think back to Bratz personally is I missed out. I've never seen any of the movies. That's gonna be a shocker for so many of you to hear because I've gotten a lot of suggestions to talk more about Bratz. Although I've seen my fair share of meme-worthy clips online, and it's safe to say they were truly peak cinema.
Girlfriend, stop! Get back in the car! You come back here!
However, I did actually have one Bratz doll, which was Bratz Cat's Yasmin. Due to my lack of like knowledge surrounding Bratz, I was under the assumption or the impression that like I wasn't allowed to have any Bratz for a long time. That's just what I thought, and I just assumed that my dad, since my parents are divorced, gifted me the doll that I had and that's how I got it. But it was actually my mom that got it for me. I was really surprised. For my last video, I digged through my family computer and I was looking at old videos and I found one of me being like, oh my god, a Brat doll!
A Brat doll, just what I wanted. My first official Brat doll. Oh my god, it's just what I wanted.
Bratz? No, just one.
Actually, that's true. I only had one. So my guess as to why I didn't get into them now is because other doll lines simply preoccupied my attention, honestly. And by other doll lines, I mean Monster High, duh. Right after I got into Monster High, I literally like gave away all my Barbies and invested all my time in Monster High. And those like lines like Monster High, creative doll lines, fun doll lines, those became my favorite. And it's had a chokehold on me ever since 2010. On this channel, the conversation of Mattel Entertainment as a company is not a new conversation. So there's not exactly a nice way to put this. Bratzillaz were simply that, a Monster High ripoff made to capitalize off the commercial success of Mattel's Monster High. And there's been a lot of like Monster High ripoffs, people trying to be Monster High, I would say. But this line just like has a really special place in my heart because when it comes to like obscure doll lines, I guess. Not that these are like the most obscure, but I don't really see them talked about often. My point is though, I had almost a complete set of these dolls and they really meant a lot to me and I really loved them and they just disappeared. And I consider these to be their own thing. I didn't really associate them with Bratz because I didn't even realize for a long time they were Bratz, which is like, it's literally in the name, but I was also a child. Like when I was still kind of in my like, I am ashamed of all of my interests that are childish phase, I went on, you could say, a bit of a witch hunt to figure out the name of like what these dolls were because I could not remember. Get it? Witch hunt, they're witches. I remember thinking they were so cool. But yeah, you should have seen my face when I realized these were like, I didn't even realize they were Monster High. I thought these were like a totally separate thing. But yeah, today we're just gonna dive into all things Bratzillaz from their disappearance. Obviously that'll be like a key point in this video. But I also want to talk about, you know, just the dolls in general, the webisodes, and even some unreleased things that we never got to see. Anyway, before we get into today's video, I want to give a quick shout out to Monkey200 on Instagram for helping me make not only my new channel art and lulaloopsey Sona, but my Patreon end card as well. She is genuinely such a talented artist and like captured the exact like whimsical, nostalgic kind of vibe I was going for and like pictured in my head. And I want to say genuinely to anyone who was interested in doing this artwork for me, I'd posted on my Instagram story about it. Thank you to all of you who reached out. Like, it was seriously so hard to figure out like who I wanted to pick. I actually had to like I was only able to narrow it down to about 8 artists to like choose from. I couldn't even narrow it down any lower because y'all are just so talented. I seriously have the coolest subscribers. But yeah, make sure to go check out Monkey200. I love her art. It's genuinely so good. Go send her some love. And let's get on with the video. Bratzilla's House of Witches was an American line of fashion dolls created by MGA Entertainment starting in 2012. The line was a spin-off of the company's already popular franchise Bratz, hence the name Bratzillaz, but also just the fact that these characters are said to be cousins of the original Bratz, with very extremely similar names such as Cloetta, Yasmina, Megana, sashbella, and Jade. Did they just not, did they give up with that one? Each doll had glass eyes, an articulated posable body, and came with a broom hairbrush, a personal witch mark symbol, and some even came with a spell scroll and a doll stand. The dolls were marketed to kids as witches with special powers that make each other unique. And although MGA could not stress enough that like the girls were witches, not monsters, you know, the parallels here are fairly obvious between, you know, Bratzillaz and Monster High. With that being said though, these dolls still managed to have about 10 lines, and this is not including the pets or the accessory packs or the creepy witchy styling head, which exists. Yeah, sorry, I'm always gonna be a hater of like doll styling heads. They used to scare me so bad because of how many cursed, like disheveled ones I've seen at the thrift store. Although I will say, you know, the G3 Frankie Stein one, that could fix me. But back to the 10 Bratzillaz lines, let's go through them all, shall we? First we have, you know, kind of the obvious, the first edition dolls, the designs and or outfits typically seen for the characters. These dolls were actually released 3 times, first without the pets included, then with the pets included, and then lastly a discounted version with even less accessories. Fun fact too, the first release without the pets, they actually don't have glass eyes, and when I originally talked about Bratzillaz on my channel about like over a year ago or so, I found that very confusing because my dolls, I distinctly remember having glass eyes, and the only thing I could think of was like that they had separate releases, but I didn't dig into it like as much as I should have. So I want to give a big shout out to Looking Bratz. It's a Bratz archive site that has pictures of all, like, I believe merchandise too, but you know, all the dolls and like what order and stuff. So it made it abundantly clear that like, oh, okay, these look like this, these don't have this, and this looks like, you know, it like is easier to distinctly know all the details by looking at all of them. Whereas before I was able to only cross-reference my channel intro, which is actually a 13-minute like video of me playing with all my dolls, like some Monster High, some Bratzillaz. And you can clearly tell in this video that those were the glass eye variant. And that makes sense because I had the pets. So if I had just, you know, looked through Looking Bratz, I would have easily figured out the distinctions between all 3 releases. Wikis can truly only do so much, y'all. This is why fans keeping track of toys and or collectibles history is so important. Anyway, Bratzillaz between like late 2012 to early 2013 had a bit of a revamp. Like I said, despite the girls being witches with magical powers, the similarities to Monster High were uncanny. So the dolls began to market themselves as Bratzillaz House of Witches to really emphasize the fact they were witches. This started with the Back to Magic line in 2013, which featured 3 of our main characters alongside 2 new students, Ileana Honesty and Victoria Antique. Another new student as well would be introduced in the Magic Night outline, which had the cool gimmick of making the dolls dance when you would twist their waists. These dolls also came with their own magic wand to really encapsulate that witchy vibe. Then the next and technically last line that featured our core characters would be the Midnight Beach dolls, which had the gimmick of glowing in the dark. This line was a mix of budget and regular dolls, with each doll except Yasmina being released twice. Looking Bratz is like actively actually, like, it's about to be revamped, I think, so, like, that might just be a glitch, I'm not sure. But the Midnight Beach series was also the first appearance of a character named Fianna Finns, who, out of all the other characters released besides our main girls, her and Vampalina are actually the only ones we see appear in a webisode, and it's specifically the Midnight Beach one. While there was some budget dolls released earlier after Magic Night Out that I didn't mention, the last Bratzillaz line was technically a set of completely new characters known as Witchy Princesses. These dolls included Angelica Sound, Carolina Past, and Serena Calmer. It's such a strange, like, release to leave fans with because it seemed like they were determined to like keep building the world with new characters, but this was the last we would ever see of them. Before we dive into the disappearance and unreleased territory, I think it's important we talk about the webisodes. But along with these webisodes, another form of promotion that MGA did for this line was a live action music video on July 13th, 2012, very similar to like Novi Stars, and this was done not only to get fans excited for the world they were building, but the song would end up being the Bratzillaz theme song for like the webisodes and such. And can I just say, this is an absolute banger. Like, this song is genuinely so catchy and good. But at the time this was released, it came out before the webisodes, so it kind of gave us a bit of insight in regards to the lore behind these dolls and how they became witches in the first place. For example, after the chorus plays, the lyrics read as follows: "Meet the wicked cousins of the Bratz. Ever wonder how they got like that? On their 16th birthday, they realized, Bratzicadabra, we've got a witchy side." We also find out in a secret academy in the woods, they cast spells to do good, and there's a sequence where the names of the 5 characters are read out along with a bit about their powers. Then later on, when the webisodes actually did begin to start rolling out, a behind the scenes video would be posted for the music video as well. As catchy as it is, I do have to mention this, there is a demo version that's like leaked, like you can find it online on YouTube, and I stumbled upon this when I initially researched this topic a while back. The thing about demos for me is I know that like we got what we got for a reason and I respect that, but when it comes to like hearing demos for songs, I always find myself, not to be a hater, liking the demo better. Like, listen to this demo and tell me that this did not knock the other one like out of the ballpark. I'll link the whole thing in the description for anybody who wants to listen. My only critique, obviously this is a demo, you know, is like the random auto-tune-y high notes, but I can honestly bear with that. Sometimes I think it's kind of camp when that happens in a song, and for how catchy this is, I'm fine with it. I'm just a fan of fun, okay? Why is no one a fan of fun anymore? But yeah, let me know in the comments which one you prefer. I'm genuinely really curious and thought this was like a fun tidbit to mention, even though it's not like really that important. In August of 2012, MGA released the first Bratzilla webisode to the official website and their YouTube channel. The series lasted for 1 season, airing up until January 4th of 2013, with a second season expected to follow it shortly thereafter, but never ended up coming to fruition. The webisodes were basically a series of shorts that followed our 5 main Bratzillaz characters. I say this with the exception of the first 3 episodes, but all the episodes themselves still remained around like the same amount of time. They were very short, usually on the brink of like 3 minutes. And right off the bat, when revisiting this series, the art style of these characters was reminding me of a specific niche book series I read growing up. Who else remembers My Sister is a Vampire, the book series? Had no clue there was so many of these books, but I specifically read this one with this cover and I remember loving it. Besides that though, the other like thought that came to my mind when looking at this art style was, why do these characters look nothing like the dolls? Initially, when the episode started, I didn't recognize any of the characters, but in the first episode's defense, it focuses on the girls arriving to the academy for the first time, so they don't have their like cool hair and outfits we're used to seeing them in. But some of them like have elements of those outfits, but some of them like have less than others, if that makes sense. Anyway, after arriving, the girls meet the headmistress, who saves them no time in directing them to a room to quickly choose their capes and get to the grand hall as fast as they can so they won't be late. And once they pick a cape, each cape has like a little card in its pocket with a spell to be read out loud. And after each girl puts on the cape and reads the spell, then we see them undergo this like transformation process. I also find it funny that like Yasmina's opening line is about her waiting her whole life for like to go to this school, but for someone who's been dreaming about going to this school her whole life, she seems so clueless. I mean, wouldn't you have like a basic knowledge of this? Like, wouldn't you know you were going to this school to become a witch?
This is what you've always dreamed of. It's going to be fun. I dreamt I'd come here one day.
So did I.
Before we get too off track, I also just want to circle back to the art style for a second. Bratz had a ton of like art for its dolls, with this line being no different with whatever this is. I remember actually being a big fan of this art style growing up. Like, I thought it genuinely looked so cool, and there's certain aspects of it that do look cool. But revisiting it, I never realized how gray they made like all of the characters' skin. For why? Same with like the hair. It's like a prominent feature of these designs. Like the colors need to pop. Same goes for Monster High. That's why like they stand out and they got so popular. So it's like, I don't know what the purpose of sucking out all the color of the art is. What is that gonna do for this line? Though in later renditions, the color seems to like seep through again a little bit more. I'll give them that, but the gray complexion still stands. Now, what are my thoughts overall on the webisodes? To be blunt, I can see why this show didn't work out. I said that the first time I watched it. I still hold that opinion. With its detached characters, barely relevant antagonists, and more importantly, the overall lack of plot. The first 3 webisodes are genuinely my favorite. Like, they give me a lot of hope for the series to get better as we got more and more, you know, of the plot and did some character and or world building. But after that point, it just like felt really random. Like, why have a cohesive storyline and then revert to like doing little random segment shorts? We don't really get a ton of focus on the main girls, and I don't even really know like what them attending this school really entails until a couple episodes in. Is this series designed to market dolls to children? Well, yes! But is it gonna stop me from saying Yasmina has one of the worst British accents I've ever heard? No!
What a who?
It's painful, guys. It's painful.
How did I know you were going to say that?
Like, who allowed this to happen? Can we at least make it sound like she actually has the accent you're portraying? It's not even just her this happened to. I mean, she's by far the worst, the thing that stood out to me. But with any characters that have attempted accents in this show, it just sounds so strange. Following the transformation sequence, the girls head to the Grand Hall and quickly realize everyone has pets but them. So after a quick chat with a rat that only Sashbella can understand since she has the power to communicate with animals, they run into Levitor, who kindly shows them to where they can get pets of their own.
I'm Levitor. You girls must be new.
Basically, all you have to do is stand in front of one of these mirrors and say the magic word Bratzicadabra, and then the mirror will like reflect your inner self. It's after the girls are greeted with their pets that we end off episode 2 on kind of a rude awakening from a pair of mystery twins, which we'll soon come to know as the Tula twins. Cloetta's first instinct is to try to clock them, but is honestly spooked when one of the twins simply points a wand at her.
You know, a little politeness goes a long way.
Then Megana chimes in with, "Hey, back off, thrift store."
Hey, back off, thrift store.
Is she calling her poor? Like, what kind of insult is back off, thrift store? But I have to admit, you know, Sashbella, she kind of ate with the, I think I hear Cinderella calling. She wants her sisters back.
Yeah, I think I hear Cinderella calling. She wants her sisters back.
Anyway, the twins walk away shortly after this, like, encounter or interaction, and all Levitor really has to say is, they are the Tula twins. Best to avoid them. Literally giving them no context as to why. But the episode ends with, like, clarifying what each girl's powers are, and Yasmina bonding with Levitor, leaving Jade to say,
Is it just me, or do I sense romance in the air?
in my opinion, this 3-part story ends on a relatively good note, like leaving fans excited for what's to come next and the future, you know, story building of this world. And Yasmina even ends off with giving us a sneak peek because, you know, her power is she can see the future. However, the rest of the webisodes honestly fall short in my opinion, not continuing the plot, as I said, that was, you know, just starting, or introducing us to any more characters. In fact, instead of expanding expanding upon the already established bond between Yasmina and Levator, in the next episode, they suddenly give sashbella a crush she's been messaging online, and the girls help her prepare to video chat him for the first time. And I mean, I wasn't like expecting them to jump right into them being a thing, like that's not what I would have wanted, but this just seems like a random plot point. Like, why not continue and focus on the characters at the actual academy? Anyway, let's debrief the rest of the episodes kind of in a more speedrunny style. Episode 5 follows the girls as they like do this fashion runway show for their pets after Jade was able to sense they felt left out when the girls did a fashion runway project for class. Episode 6 follows the girls as they are watching this like old-timey movie in like the academy's theater, and they start criticizing the style choices of like the main actress or something, and so they use their magic to actually change those things in the movie they're watching, which causes the actress to storming off the set, quitting the movie. So they decide, whoa, we did this. Let's just put Jade in the movie, using their magic because this is her favorite part. This is her favorite movie, I think, and she knows the part. Episode 7 is the girls' first day in Purses and Potions class, which is, as I said, episode 7, despite episode 3 ending with the girls heading to that exact class for the first time.
That's first period. I've got alchemistry with Dr. Gildenstein. How about you girls?
Purses and potions.
Continuity doesn't exist. I don't even know. Episode 8 is all about Levator's role in like school news and journalism at Bratzillaz Academy, which he brings up in episode 3 when bonding with Yasmina. What he fails to mention, however, is that the Tula twins are his competition.
That's odd. I didn't even know they were writers.
Was that not important context? Like, this information would have given us a lot more context sooner as to why he said these girls, they should avoid them. Basically, the main plot of this episode is the school's crystal ball is stolen, and it turns out the Tula twins stole it so they could be the first one on campus to like get a head sight on all the school's news and gossip, which is why they ended up like getting all these articles out at this like unrealistic rate. Then we have episode 9, which is the Midnight Beach episode based upon the glow-in-the-dark dolls. This episode is the first time we're introduced to Vampalina in the actual show. Beforehand, we're introduced to her as a character through the Magic Night outline, which came out like right before Midnight Beach probably. Basically, Cloetta discovers her pet wandered off and is stuck on a rock like too far out for her to retrieve, so Vampalina calls Fianna Finns, who safely gets them to shore. I say them because this is like a cat-dog situation. It's basically 2 pets in one, right? But why they're at the beach is because they're having a beach party, and I assume this is kind of like an end of the year party since it's like the end of season 1. But the clouds, like shortly before she discovered her pet on that rock, ruined their beach party, made it like too dark. So Fianna fixes that issue too, moving the clouds with her magic. After we get a little dance montage turned season 1 montage to end off season 1. Now, here's where things get confusing. Bratzillaz would be discontinued and disappear shortly into 2013. However, it is believed due to the Midnight Beach episode that there was supposed to be a season 2 of all new Webisodes. Directly after the montage of season 1, we're shown a sneak peek of a never before seen Webisode. Now, at first, I thought this, like the sneak peek we saw, was the Webisode that got leaked, but I don't think it is because that clip has nothing to do with what happens in the leaked Webisode called Fashion Bites. So that's just furthermore proof that there is other Webisodes that were supposed to happen and are probably, I don't know, like in the storage unit somewhere. They just shut the lights off. We're done. Anyway, this full episode of what would have been season 2 can be found on YouTube that was leaked. It is called Fashion Bites, and I am unsure as to how fans got a hold of this. All I know is it somehow got leaked. The episode follows the girls as they make a bet on who can make the best fashion purchase in the next hour, and the winner will get a spider cappuccino and a death by chocolate brownie. But the twist is when everyone gets back, it turns out they all ended up buying the same dress, and that's how the episode ends. See, things like this would actually be cute and like I would not have a problem with, but you know, season 1 should have been used to like really establish our plot lines more. That doesn't mean they had to all be connected. If they were shorts, that's fine, but like slowly introduce stuff, because like there's a lot of context we're missing. Specifically, episodes 7 and 8 are also my favorites. My favorites not including the like 3 connected ones, because like these are storylines that I think genuinely would have provided important context and that could have worked like with a plot. I don't know, you get what I'm saying? I don't know, I'm just saying shit. Hopefully you guys get what I mean. But to move on from the Webisodes, I think something that's extra peculiar about this line and how it's just stuck out to me over the years is just how they seemingly vanished. Like, one day they were on shelves and the next fans were left with no dolls, no season 2, and generally many questions left unanswered. But the truth is, the discontinuation had everything to do with timing. At least this is in my opinion. This is not like me saying this is a fact. See, the last upload on the Bratzillaz YouTube channel was actually August 11th of 2013, and in 2014, MGA made the decision to kind of like put Bratz on a hiatus due to wanting to revamp or reinvent the brand. I want to apologize for not reading the actual like statement, just like saying they made a statement, because genuinely when I was researching, I could not find this statement for the life of me. I searched and searched and searched, and still this is the closest thing I could find. It's text on a screen. It's from a video where they talk about, you know, this hiatus, the aftermath, and I guess like when they relaunched again. I didn't watch the full video. I was just looking to see if they mentioned where the statement was made. There's no source. However, I did want to include something because I felt bad, because like I wanted further context for you guys to like understand the situation. I think I explained it pretty well though, but yeah, take this with a grain of salt. I'm pretty sure that this is an accurate statement that they made. Although, Bratzillaz had a whole like 2nd edition line of dolls planned to be released that year, but due to the plans of MGA and what they had for like the Bratz brand as a whole behind the scenes, this pretty much put Bratzillaz on the chopping block. The name of this 2nd edition line of dolls is really unknown, but many suspect this line was originally supposed to be back to magic simply because of vibes. But like I said, we were slowly seeing new characters introduced. I mean, Bratzillaz's very last release didn't even include any of the core characters, so you won't be surprised to learn that the 2nd edition dolls were no different. In this 2nd edition line, we were going to be introduced to Unicorthia Unicorna, Ludwinia Crawls, Luna Fortuna, Cassandra Von Bird, Eloise DeFreeze, and Abra Cadaver. The Bratzillaz wiki mentions how Luna and Eloise look very similar to Megana and sashbella, which personally I did not notice the first time I watched this like video. I mean, Luna is a redhead with dark clothing. Sure, I see the similarities there now looking back at it, but Eloise, I don't see the similarities there. I feel like these are 2 different dolls. I mean, factually, yeah, they're 2 different dolls, I'm right. But you know what I did notice right off the bat that was not pointed out on the wiki that I could find? This pet rat. Does this look familiar to anyone? It's actually impossible for these dolls to be prototypes of the main girls since they came out in 2012, and apparently these were produced or meant to be released in 2013. Probably the later half of 2013 with how the lineup was going into 2014. This sizzle reel, as it's called, for these dolls features the year 2012, but I think that's because this is supposed to be like a yearbook looking back at the previous school year, especially because the narrator in this reel like talks about the previous school year in regards to the show or just the students in general. So that would completely make sense to have it open and the year 2012 to be there. Another thing I want to point out is between 2012 to 2013, the brand's catchphrase was changed. As we talked about, the previous one was Glam Gets Wicked, but it got changed to House of Witches to make it more apparent that they were witches. But this reel actually features the catchphrase Magic Within You, which I have not seen on any of the dolls from what I could find. It appears these students are separate from Bratz Academy. It's implied they are, at least, solely by the fact that the narrator talks about these students by saying, and I quote,
"However, keep in mind, the Bratzillaz Academy is not for everyone,"
before showing us all the cards with the names, powers, and majors of these characters. But aside from all the questions we may have about what could have been, I have to appreciate these dolls. I personally think they would have been some of the coolest Bratzillaz characters yet. My personal favorites are either Ludwinia Crawls, Eloise DeFreeze, or Cassandra Von Bird. But my god, they are so cool, like, it is so hard to choose. Anyway, looking back at the directions, things went despite what we could have had. It isn't such a shock. I mean, in 2013, I believe Bratz had changed the dolls to have, like, lengthier bodies and introduced, like, new branding. The hiatus wouldn't officially take place until January of 2014 when MGA made an official statement, though. Then over a year later, in the summer of 2015, the relaunch would actually officially take place. And this line of dolls included new heads, bodies, shoe sculpts, and even introduced us to a new character named Rhea. This era of Bratz was also just generally a fresh take on aesthetic. aesthetics. It was done to appeal to these newer generations and audiences. However, despite all that effort, the dolls were not received well, and that led to their discontinuation and excess amounts of like discounted re-releases until about 2017. Now that I've said this, I was way more into Bratzillaz than I ever was Bratz, clearly. I only had my cat's Yasmin, and I loved her very, very much. However, I'd still consider my opinion of this, lack of a better word, flop era of Bratz, more of an outsider's opinion. Personally, I absolutely see why people weren't into these dolls like they were with previous years of Bratz. However, what I can give them is I did like some of the outfits when I was like scrolling through the releases on Looking Bratz. To name a few examples, Sleepover Party Jade, the whole music festival line, especially Jade and Rhea, the second edition Study Abroad dolls, and Sweet Style Jade. Jade's just eating it up. She left no crumbs. As someone who was 10 in 2015, I can definitely like see the vision of what they were going for, but I think a lot of Bratz's like previous fashionable elements did get lost somewhere along the process. The doll molds have to be my least favorite part. I'm talking strictly about the outfits when I say like there were a select few that I was like, okay, I see what they were going for here, but you get my point. Comparing the 2015-2016 era to even just like 2013 is just laughable. I don't know if this is a controversial opinion, but I was scrolling through like 2015 and genuinely like there were some cute dolls, like some creative outfits. And if you look from 2013 to 2014, it's an insane difference. My jaw was on the floor. To make a long story short, Bratzillaz unfortunately had to be sacrificed in order to get Bratz to where they are today, in my personal opinion. They relaunched back in 2021, a relaunch that has been super successful and paid off clearly, so maybe it was for the greater good to let this line go when they did. Though it's highly unlikely, I do hope we'll see some kind of like Bratzillaz revamp or re-release someday. Even like with these being a blatant Monster High ripoff, Bratzillaz managed to have some of the coolest, most unique designs. It actually pains me every waking hour that I cannot find my childhood collection of Bratzillaz, but I will never stop looking, trust me. I'm a huge fan of dolls who break the barriers. I love a doll that's creepy and weird and out of the box, but also fashionable, which is why I love lines like Bratzillaz, Monster High, Novi Stars, and most recently, although I don't have any of these dolls, I have to appreciate Decora girls. They're just so cute. I love Decora in general, and one of my favorite like Decora wearing creators that I follow just to like keep up with the style, I always love her outfits, actually helped with the designing process of these dolls, which I believe was because they wanted to make sure they stayed true to the fashion style and, you know, did it accurately. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know your thoughts on Bratzillaz below. I'm super curious. It was so fun to remake and re-research this video. It started off as me wanting to like fix an audio problem. The first time I made this video, I used my mic the first time and the audio wasn't like, you could only hear it in one ear. It was messed up. Since then, I've literally learned how to fix that exact problem in my editor if like it happens when I'm filming. So it's just not a problem that has happened since. And I know that's so annoying when you listen to a video and you can only hear it on one side, and especially if you're using headphones. But this video also turned into me like realizing I missed so much. I make a lot longer videos now. The original was like 14 minutes. So I got to add on to things I missed or correct mistakes I made, which is why I always like repurposing my old scripts like this. Like I've done it several times. I think next I want to do it with my Canadian animated shows video that I did, which I took down because the music was just messed up. It was way too loud in that video. Shout out once again to my Patreon members. I genuinely appreciate you guys so much. And thank you for your patience. I got so burnt out making this. I mean, I don't think it was burnout. It's literally because my brain is mentally in October. I'm so excited for the Halloween videos I have planned. You guys have no idea. And I can't work on them yet. I can't work on them yet. And my mindset is already there, but I can't work on them. I need the crisp fall air, the leaves falling from the trees. I need to be in a pumpkin patch. I need to be wearing a sweater. Anyway, that's all for today's video, and I will see you guys in the next one.